Okay, hey everybody, Sandra here, and thank you for joining me again today. Today is a very special treat. I'd like to welcome and introduce you today to Dr. Asa Frey.
Hello.
Dr. Frey is one of the two doctors that run the beautiful clinic here that I'm staying at. This is Back to the Garden PR in beautiful San Juan, Puerto Rico. And I've been here since July 6th. I've been experiencing a very successful and I feel productive water fast. And so I asked Dr. Frey if he would talk to us a little bit today directly, straight from a certified qualified doctor, talk about water fasting. But first, would you like to tell us a little bit about your clinic?
Sure. Our clinic is, as you know, based in beautiful San Juan, Puerto Rico. We have an outpatient office where we see local patients for chiropractic, but also for chronic disease reversal services. And we have a residential center where we specialize in medically supervised water-only fasting. It's a small center, so we only take really very highly motivated patients and patients that are really going to do well fasting so that they have a really good experience and so that we have fun as well and so everybody's happy. And we really enjoy what we do. It's a lot of fun to watch people get well in a very short period of time.
It's a lot of fun to get well. It really is. I've noticed quite a few improvements in my health, and it's been extremely gratifying and rewarding to experience some things that I've been wanting to see get better. What I just wanted to ask you a couple things. So many people these days are attempting water fasting without supervision, medical supervision. What are some of the dangers in going about an extended water fast of 4 or more days without medical supervision?
Well, you're right. A lot of people are doing fasting. Fasting is extremely popular. Um, Almost always, it's not a water fast that people are trying to attempt to do. It's usually a type of juice fasting or modified fasting, intermittent fasting, a sustained fasting. There's fasting with coconut water and fasting with lemon juice and fasting with cayenne pepper and maple syrup, and there's a coffee bread fast. We do water fasting. Um, and yes, the risk for complications does rise when you do eliminate food, and that completely changes the physiology. So the physiology with water fasting is just completely different from the other types of fasting. It's a whole nother animal. Now, yes, people are going to want to do water fasting on their own. That's perfectly natural for them to have the inclination to decide, okay, I'm going to try and do this by myself. However, it's sort of akin to going to visit, let's say, the dentist. So you go visit the dentist and you find out that you have some issues with one or two or three teeth, and the dentist says, okay, we need to take this tooth out and we need to put a filling in this tooth and we're going to do a root canal here, and you say, okay, well, thanks for the advice. Now just tell me what to do. I'm going to go home and perform that surgery myself. You're probably not going to have a very good outcome.
I'd say not.
And the reason is because you have no experience in dental surgery, right? Dental surgeons spend a long period of time in school, and then they spend an extensive period in practice actually practicing
Mm-hmm.
the surgery and their different operations and the different techniques that go into dentistry to be a good quality dentist and have good outcomes. So and most people do fasting for health reasons, whether they have a specific health concern that they want to address, or they're just a generally healthy person and they're doing fasting to improve or maintain health. Those are still, you're still fasting for health reasons.
Yes, absolutely.
Like yourself,
Right.
you had been on a extremely healthy diet for a long period of time
Mm-hmm.
and had done really well, but you still wanted to improve your health even more, and so you came and did a fast and got all the benefits of fasting. You did it supervised. So if you have health goals you want to achieve a health goal, then it seems to me that the best way to go about doing that would be to find somebody who has experience in helping people to achieve those goals.
Yeah.
Right? You wouldn't just go read a book on dental surgery and then go home and do your own dental surgery. There's plenty of books on fasting, but no book on fasting is going to teach you as much as extensive years of training and years in practice will.
Right. I'm trying to imagine if I had been at home doing this, okay, for even just 10 days. You stand up, you get dizzy if you stand up too quickly. If you sit up too quickly, if you walk too quickly, you have very little energy. I'm trying to imagine if I had tried to drive. If I had tried to drive my car in this condition, if I had tried to go to work, I can't even imagine it. So, it just makes absolutely no sense to try something like this at home. I just don't understand it. Plus, when you're weak, you're going to give in. You're going to break your fast. You're going to go to the kitchen. You're going to feel like you think, oh, okay, my body's telling me I need to eat. That's a misconception. And so, but when you're in a place like this where there's no food, I didn't sneak any food in with me. None of us did. And so I don't have an option. I am not, I may think I'm hungry, but I'm not eating.
Yes, we do an extensive pat down when you walk in the door.
Go through all the luggage like the TSA.
Bars and your juice boxes and
yeah. And some of the times when I have had a concern, the doctors are able to look at my blood work and say, okay, this is what's going on here, and the reason you're feeling this is because of this, and they're able to tell you from experience and from education what exactly is going on. That kind of allays your fears a little bit. Or if there is a legitimate reason to end the fast, then the doctors know when it's time to end it. They can tell you, okay, now is the time to end your fast. So it just makes a lot more sense to go through a certified, a qualified clinic.
You're absolutely right. And half of the reason that people get benefits fasting is because they're in a restful, stress-free environment.
Mm-hmm.
Now, if you're doing it at home and there hasn't been a physical exam, you haven't done previous laboratory tests, and no one's checking on your vital stats daily, once or twice a day, then you have no idea whether changes are normal or abnormal. Mm-hmm. And so then there's this preoccupation, there's this worry or fear that happens. And fear, feeling fear, that creates an environment of stress.
That's right.
And that's the opposite of what we're trying to create with fasting. So if you're fasting in an environment of fear and an environment of stress, number one, you're not going to have a very comfortable fast. Number two, you're probably not going to receive the benefits that you want and not, get to obtain your goals.
Mm-hmm. And every day, twice a day, one or the other doctor will come in. In the morning, it's blood pressure, pulse, and they write down your weight, ask you how much water you drank, and then they say, do you have any questions? And that is your chance to, if there's any concern you have, anything you've been wondering, you have all the time in the world to ask any question you've got. You can't do that at home. In the evening, they come in, check you again, do a pulse check. Do you have any questions, any concerns, anything you want to share? So that's another unique opportunity that you have when you do a medically supervised water fast that you're not going to have when you're in your home. If you're at your home and something happens, you're like, well, my heart's going, oh, what's going on here? The stress, like Dr. Asa said, can cause things to go haywire.
Yeah, and you'll end up getting on the internet and looking up rapid heartbeat during fasting, and who knows what you're going to end up doing.
Right.
This is why a lot of people do modified fasting, because there's a lot less complications and a lot less risk, but you don't get the benefits that you do with water fasting. They end up adding lemon juice and honey to the water, which drastically changes the physiology, but it does make it somewhat safer to do at home.
What are some of, like I said, I came into this, like you said, kind of already clean eating. So I feel like my experience has been milder.
You had a fantastic fast. You did very well, and there were really not so many symptoms, or it was very comfortable for you for most of the part, for most of your fast. For a little bit there, your energy went down, and you had a couple days of
My mood.
really not feeling well.
I felt sorry for myself. Let's just say it.
And that's very normal. But afterward, as well as right now, you're having sort of this sort of blissful experience where you love yourself and you love what you're doing and you love everything around you, and you're very present, and you have a better outlook on life. And that's how almost everyone ends up leaving the center.
You just have to get through what I keep calling the valley. You got to get through the valley, and then you come out on the other side, and that was a rough thing.
But if you don't prepare well,
that was my next question.
There are many times issues.
Well, I mean, some people, because the post fast is, in my opinion, the second most important thing. The most important thing is to be doctor monitored. The second most important thing, in my opinion, is the post-fast, the refeed, which is a whole different topic. That's a whole thing to talk about. By the way, that honeydew melon was amazing.
That's a golden melon.
Best thing in the whole wide world this morning. And I relished every bite of it. But what I was wondering about, and this is not what I experienced, so I'm wondering about it, what about people who are trying to come in from the standard American diet? Okay, what happens when they say, okay, Dr. Frey, I want to water fast? What's the first thing you do with people who just have been eating a whole diet of burgers and pizza before they come to you?
Well, the good thing about our center is we're usually booked for about a month or two ahead of time. I mean, you scheduled your fast many months ahead of time.
6 months or so, yeah.
And so we get to follow those patients during the preparation for fasting. We give them a very specific, detailed plan, not only dietary, but also changing their lifestyle. Sometimes if they're drinking caffeine, we have them get off of that earlier. And most people are also taking medication. So it's a process.
Okay.
Getting off the medication, introducing more healthy foods, getting the body working much better than it was before, antes de, or before we jump in to a fast.
Okay, now what about somebody who has been watching YouTube, and they say, oh, look at that person, they just lost 20 pounds in 10 days doing a water fast. I think I'll do a water fast. So I'm going to eat my big Pizza Hut pizza tonight, and tomorrow I'm going to start my water fast.
Well, that's a terrible idea.
Okay, what are some effects that they're going to experience if they try to do a 10-day water fast?
Well, there are almost always many more symptoms during the fast. There's nausea and headaches and body pain. There's intestinal pain. There's acid reflux. Sometimes there's vomiting. So the list of symptoms that can happen during fasting usually happen to people who don't prepare well. And usually they do fine and they get through their fast. But sometimes afterward, if like you said, if they've eaten pizza a day or two or three, or even a week before their fast, those dead, decaying animal flesh products and the flour and the oil and the salt, those things sit in the intestinal tract. There's no fiber there. They sit there and harden during the fast because your body's going to stay hydrated and take some of the water from the fecal matter. And so going to the bathroom afterward is often a real problem. It's very uncomfortable. Sometimes, I won't get into details, but that is one of our biggest concerns. If someone really hasn't eaten well before fasting, then we usually take a day or two and feed them a really high fruit and vegetable diet, get lots of water and lots of fiber in there, and replenish some of their reserves and get some of that pizza out of there before they jump into a fast.
That's very, very smart. Okay, so we talked about the do's and don'ts of before your fast, and then during your fast, some of the things you need to think about. And so what about, let's talk about post-fasting. What happens in a refeed? Because I've noticed that for me, y'all gave me different things than you did for my roomies. And I noticed, like yesterday, if I did sip too quickly, then my stomach said, slow down, you went too fast. And so I would I would drink one, and I just felt like I'd had a turkey dinner. I felt full and comfortable. And then an hour before time for the second one, same thing. I'd be hungry and ready for it, and I'd feel comfortable after. And then same thing for dinner last night. It was just the perfect amount for me. But how does refeeding work?
In general, we do have a sort of a generalized refeed. If there are no complications, the patient's not experiencing nausea and vomiting towards the end of the fast. And it also depends on how they tolerate food when you break the fast. Some people do not tolerate juices after fasting, and you have to be prepared to change their program and adapt the program to that specific patient and their specific issues. Yes, you have a different refeed than the other two guests that are staying with us, and that is because they have had certain issues coming into the fast and have certain goals.
Mm-hmm.
And so we want to refeed them in a specific way to ensure that they remain healthy during the refeed and maintain their health afterward.
Gotcha.
So I'll give you a good example. Someone with intestinal issues, you probably don't want to start them off with a fruit and vegetable juice, throw a bunch of sugar into the intestines after fasting. We start them off much more slowly.
Oh, I see.
With some vegetable broth, some cooked vegetables, vegetable soup, and small amounts of starches. And they go on like that until they're doing well, and then you introduce fruit. But it really varies. A general refeed for a very, very healthy person, we break their fast with fruits and vegetables, fruit and vegetable juices, and usually people love those.
Mm-hmm.
They taste delicious.
Oh, yeah.
People gain their energy back a little bit quickly. They get some animo, they say in Spanish, or animation. Mm-hmm. And then after that, we'll move on to raw food, see how you tolerate raw fruits and vegetables. And then we'll move on to cooked vegetables. And then later on, we'll introduce some starches, root vegetables, grains, beans, things like that. And then later down the line, we'll introduce fats.
Okay. All right. So that's kind of the way mine will go?
Yeah.
Like that. Okay, cool. Well, I noticed yesterday that I didn't gain my energy back yesterday, but I had a feeling that with a good night's sleep, waking up this morning after 3 fresh injections of nutrients, that I would wake up feeling a lot more energized, and I was not wrong. I really did. This morning I have not had orthostatic hypotension, which is when you stand up too fast and you're like, whoa, whoop, up. I haven't had that at all today. I have almost felt 100% normal, really. I mean, I'm trying not to overdo it, but I have really felt, very, very energetic today. And so,
people do recuperate some energy rather rapidly, mm-hmm. But if you did anything that elevated your heart rate, you would find that you tire real quick.
Right.
So you feel good, with this amount of activity.
Right.
Which is just perfect, just enough.
Perfect. Yeah, that's right. So the other thing I wanted to ask was, people say, well, I lost this much weight, but if you are coming off of something that a diet that's high in salt, then a lot of that's going to be your water weight right at the beginning.
Yeah.
Okay. Then if you go into a ketogenic state, you lose some fat mm-hmm. during it. Okay. What are the general statistics of what people put back on? Do you have any data on, like, after their fast is done, a week later, a month later, mm-hmm. how do things look for people as far as regain of the original weight?
Well, I have my own experience, but I've also heard different things. It really depends on what you eat. Mm-hmm. Really depends on what you eat.
Right.
So if you get out of fasting and you go back to 50% eating your previous diet from before, which is probably not that great, and oil and salt and sugar and flour and some animal products, you're probably going to gain most of that weight back. Mm-hmm. From what I see here, the way that we lay out a detailed plan for people, they usually gain some small portion of the weight back, 20%, 25%. That is unless their body needs to gain more weight. Okay. Let's say if we fast them and they get a little bit underweight during fasting, they're going to put that weight on pretty rapidly and then level out at what would be an ideal weight for them. If they need to lose weight, they'll gain about 20%, 25% of their weight back during the refeed, so during the few months after refeeding. Then if they maintain that diet, their weight's going to drop again. Let's say if they need to lose 20, 30 pounds. They lost 20 pounds during fasting, but they still have, excess 25, 30 pounds. If they do maintain a 95% really healthy diet, the way that we teach them to, then that weight's going to start coming off, even without exercise.
Yeah. And my friend Wanda said that she noticed after both of her fasts, they were like about mine, like one was 17, I think she said, one was 24, but she noticed continual physical improvement in her health for like 6 more months after her fasts.
Well, she probably continued to eat very healthy.
Yeah,
afterwards.
she does. She continued to eat very healthy.
Yeah, a lot of these benefits that occur during fasting, you can and will experience indefinitely, as long as you keep up a healthy diet.
Yeah. So, is there anything like any specific takeaway that you want to offer to recommend before I ask you my last question? Any nugget of wisdom that you want to share with people?
Nugget of wisdom. Fasting is not just physical change. So a lot of the changes that we see, and some of the most profound changes that we see, are mental and emotional. They're psychological changes. So it's the way that people feel about themselves, the way people feel about the world around them, the way that they interact with other people. We see some patients, some of our guests are not the nicest people coming in. And they're very combative, very confrontative, and they're not such a pleasure to be around. 2 weeks later, when they're deep into their fast, something changes. And they become like little monks, little angels, and they're the nicest people you could ever meet. And they will tell you that too. They'll say, I feel better about myself, and I feel like I'm a nicer person now, and I don't take things personally, and I don't react so much. So there's a lot of things that happen during fasting that we don't really know why they happen, but they do happen because we see them on a regular basis.
That's pretty cool. I definitely have seen not just the physical changes, but like Dr. Ace has said, emotional, mental. I've noticed quite a bit of that. And that's been a profound discovery.
And that doesn't have to end.
No.
Either. That just continues after fasting, as long as we don't get back into that environment which created those toxic emotional, psychological thoughts in the first place.
Yeah. Okay, so my last question for you is, would you tell us about the website? Because we know about the clinic. Tell us about the website. What is the link to your website? And what products do you have? And what sort of nutritional program do y'all offer?
The website is backtothegardenpr.com or backtothegardenpr.com. Sorry, sometimes the Spanish just comes out. So it's backtothegardenpr, as in Puerto Rico.com. We have hundreds, 300, maybe 400 different educational videos.
They do. Their YouTube channel, just go Clínica, Back to the Garden, and it's a prolific YouTube channel. Check it out.
It's all free. There's recipes. There's also extensive educational material, because we like to, well, that's how we bring patients to the clinic. They end up learning a lot first, and then they'll come in months, years later. Mm-hmm. So get on there and look up sugar, and look up fat, and look up fasting, and look up stress and sleep, and look up these different topics that you're concerned about, and learn about them. Of course, it's going to be in Spanish. There are some videos that I do which are in English, so if you see my face on the video, then it's probably in English, and I talk mostly about fasting and specific conditions and what happens to them while fasting, but I talk about various other subjects as well. So get on the website, go through the educational material if you want to learn. We also have ebooks. We have quite a number of ebooks that my wife, Dr. Joanna, has created, and they are fantastic. We have retos, which are challenges, where you get a menu, and it gives you all the recipes, and you give it like a plan for the week. It's just not really a challenge. It's just a healthy weekly menu. But for many people, that is a challenge. that is the challenge, is to
Yeah.
eat healthy on a consistent basis. So those will be useful. What was the last thing you wanted me to mention?
Like your nutritional program.
Oh, we many of the consults that myself and my wife do are telephone consults. So we have a telephone consult with a person in, like, you're from Florida. We have patients from South America and Central America and from Canada and from all over the United States, as well as the island of Puerto Rico. So we can do a significant amount of positive change without the patient even being here. Sometimes it's really necessary for them to come down and do a fast, but a lot of times we just need to take a very detailed history, and analyze the laboratory tests, and get to know that person and what they're doing during their life in order to make the changes that we need to make. Address the causative factors, and that's really the beginning. The first part of the process is to identify any causes of the patient's problem or of their lack of health, and really address those. And those can be done over the phone or in person.
Okay. So Dr. Joanna and Dr. Asa are anticipating a move to a much larger facility in about 6 months to a farm. I can't imagine anything more beautiful than this home. But this is a very safe community here, but that's something to consider if you are thinking about this in the future. This is a perfect facility if you can speak Spanish. Okay, I highly recommend this. Both Dr. Asa and Dr. Joanna do presentations twice a week. They each do one presentation with a PowerPoint and take questions. So it's like getting a speech for just 3 people. It's pretty cool. And in addition to a little library of the videos, the movies that we all like to watch as whole food plant-based. And so please consider, if you are able to speak Spanish, please consider coming down if you ever plan on doing a water fast to Back to the Garden PR.
Both both the doctors and the staff also speak English.
Yes, that's
so we have
right.
plenty of
Everybody
English-speaking
speaks English
patients
here
as well.
too. Yes. And so let's see, there was one other thing I was going to say.
I'm really proud of you, Sandra. You did very well. You should be really happy with yourself.
Well, thank you. Thank you very much.
Mm-hmm.
The other thing I was going to say, most of Dr. Joanna's videos on YouTube are in Spanish, and Dr. Asa's are mostly in English, but they're very enjoyable to watch. And so even if you just watch Joanna, her enthusiasm comes out quite well. And she told me the other day that right now they're a little short-staffed, but they are working on translating all of her recipe books into English. So that'll be really cool, because I haven't even been able to watch her shows here because the food is like, it looks so good. Some of her recipes, like her polvorones that she posted the other day, I'm having to wait until I get home and I'm eating again. I think I can now watch it, but I knew that it would be like too much for me, so I've been like, I'll watch this later. I'll watch this later. I'll watch this later. But that's just part of what you do. You have to decide what you can and can't tolerate when you're going through a water fast. And for me, I can talk about food all day, but I don't want to see pictures of it, and I don't I don't want to. I have trouble smelling it, and I don't want to see pictures of it right now. I didn't during the fast. So thank you again so much, Dr. Asa. Just very, very much appreciated.
Thank you.
I've enjoyed my experience here. I hope y'all got something out of our video today. Everybody have a great day, and we'll see you next time. Okay, bye.